right, the president made a lot of promises in his State of the Union address. At this point, how many people actually now believe him? Well, it turns out not many. Although the president declared that he has cut taxes for 95% of Americans, a Rasmussen poll taken after the speech shows that 53% of Americans say, well, that's not true. Only 21% say the president has actually kept his promise. 26% don't have a clue. They're not sure. Likewise, the president claimed that the $787 billion stimulus bill had created or saved 2 million jobs. Well, only 27% of Americans are buying that lie, while a whopping 51% actually get it as a lie. Well, now that Americans are seeing through the anointed one's rhetoric, well, what is he going to turn to next? Joining me with analysis, the author of The Political Fix, Changing the Game of American Democracy from the Grassroots to the White House, Doug Schoen, and former Pennsylvania Senator, Fox News contributor Rick Santorum. There's a rumor you might run for president. I'm rumor.
Rumor. I'll leave it at that.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm not going to go there.
Okay.
How does the president say when we lost 4 million jobs that we saved 2? How does he do that?
It's a tough thing to maintain, Sean. I'd like to help him, but unemployment is what, 10.1, 10.2%. It's not really showing any signs of recovery, and the poll is basically bearing out reality.
All right, and it's 17% if we include those that stopped looking for jobs or are underemployed. So, politically speaking, I think George Herbert Walker Bush, when he said, read my lips, no new taxes, broke the pledge, destroyed his credibility.
Yeah, I think if I'm Barack Obama, I almost have to throw yourself on the mercy of the court. Say, look, what I tried, it's not working. We need to do something else. We need to do more. But to go out there and try to convince the American public as unemployment is in double digits and looks like it may even go up some more, and try to convince them that what I'm doing is working is that moment where people say he's out of touch with us.
All right, but he nearly quadrupled the deficit in year one, and he's going to even increase the deficit a lot more when he said he's going to be a fiscal conservative.
Right, and he's relying on tax increases to keep the deficit from ballooning even further, and optimistic economic assumptions. Sean, there's another approach. President Obama could have said, look, my approach hasn't worked. I want to govern in a bipartisan way. Mr. Boehner, Mr. McConnell, come to the White House and let's talk about your agenda and my agenda, and we'll find a happy medium.
You know, you get criticized when you're on this program, and I read the blogs.
I do.
But I got to tell you something. If they listened to you, they would be in a much better position. Like, I'll use Evan Bayh as an example.
Exactly.
If Evan Bayh came out and said, no to cap and tax, no to this massive health care reform that only 20, 30% of the American people want, the American people would say, now there's a Democrat I can support.
And he's moving in that direction, Sean.
He's moving.
But I would tell you this.
Because his race is getting closer to Indiana,
We need bipartisanship on a fundamental basis. We need deficit reduction, and we need a real spending cut. If we got that, as we saw in the mid-'90s with the Clinton administration, the Democrats would win popularity.
The problem with that is that the Democrats who are in office right now don't believe in spending cuts. They believe that the way they get this economy going is spending more money. They believe in Keynesian economics, priming the pump, government spending money. And that's why President Obama said, that's why I'm waiting until 2011 to do any deficit reduction, because this year we need to spend more money.
Here's what I don't understand, though. I mean, look, you've been in tough campaigns. You're in a sort of light blue state, maybe even a dark blue state in Pennsylvania.
Okay, dark, yeah.
All right. So, what is Blanche Lincoln thinking? What is Gillibrand thinking? What is Ben Nelson thinking? What is Evan Bayh, who's up for re-election, thinking? Russ Feingold is behind in a poll against Tommy Thompson.
I would say that if I'm Blanche Lincoln, I'm thinking what ambassadorship that I'm interested in, because
it's over.
It's over. I mean, she just can't win.
There is another strategy. The moderate Democrats get together and say, we've had it.
Who's going to do that?
The ones you were mentioning.
They're not
Lincoln,
enough of them.
Nelson,
There's not enough.
And they say, we're not going to do it, and we're going to speak out, create a counterweight, an independent force in America. And, that could have some credibility, notwithstanding what Rick says.
But if the president goes on national TV and the State of the Union says, I'm going to be fiscally responsible Wednesday, and today introduces the biggest budget ever in American history with the biggest budget deficit in American history, it doesn't.
Well, he said he was going to be fiscally responsible next year.
Oh, next year.
Remember that? But again, it goes back to
next year. It's over $1 trillion.
Yeah, that's right. But it goes back to the fact that they don't believe that you create economic growth in this country through the private sector. Yeah, they believe they create economic growth through government spending. And when it comes to Washington D.C., they're right. The lowest unemployment rate in the country, Washington D.C. Half of what the unemployment rate is in the rest of the country.
problem, which is arguably as big, which is with the interest payments on the debt. We don't have the resources to fund our military. We are effectively the hugest debtor nation in the world. We're mortgaging ourselves to the Chinese and other nations. We can't do what we have to do internationally.
Everything you're saying, I say myself, and I agree with. So, I guess we got our answer to the question that I've been asking for the last 2 weeks, and that is that he's not going to go Bill Clinton's. He's not. He's a rigid ideologue.
He is a rigid ideologue.
Radical ideologue.
When I heard him say, "I am not an ideologue," I just kept thinking, Richard Nixon, I am not a crook. I mean, it was the same thing. And the fact is, everybody in that room and everybody in America increasingly is thinking, you really are an ideologue, and you're not going to change.
When you look at the polls, Sean, there is a consensus, 50-60% of Americans who want fiscally prudent policies, moderate social welfare, and a strong national defense. If the president governed that way in a bipartisan manner, he would have broad support, as would the Democrats. Wrong choice, political disaster.
You know what? Where has been not a Democrat saying
there isn't a moderate Democrat.
Not one. Not one.
That's the problem.
That's the problem for your party.
That's what we need.
Yeah. All right. Good to see you both. Thanks.
Thank you.
We're going to watch, see if there's any announcements coming your way. I heard these rumors.
I'll come here.